In 1888, London was the center of the British Empire, a city of immense wealth and progress. But beneath the gas lamps, a thick, toxic fog choked the streets, providing cover for a threat that was beginning to emerge from the shadows. Over a 12-week period, a single unidentified killer would paralyze the city and capture the attention of the entire empire. He murdered with a brutality that shocked the public, and then vanished completely. His identity remains the most debated mystery in criminal history. In the East End district of Whitechapel, 80,000 people were packed into a forgotten wasteland, where disease and starvation were common. The district was a maze of dark, narrow alleys, making it nearly impossible for the overstretched police force to monitor. For thousands of women living in extreme poverty, the streets were a place of constant danger. Many were forced to sell themselves just to afford a bed for a single night. In the late summer of 1888, the geography of these slums became a lethal advantage for a predator. The narrow escapes and unlit corners created an environment where a killer could strike and disappear instantly. Between August and November, 5 women were killed: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. These victims are now known as the Canonical Five. The killer operated in total silence, striking in the middle of the night and leaving the scene within minutes. When the coroners examined the victims, they found something unexpected. The killer possessed a high degree of anatomical knowledge, performing precise extractions in near-total darkness. This evidence meant the police weren't looking for a chaotic madman, but someone with the steady hand and training of a professional surgeon. As the body count rose, mobs began to form in the streets of London. The newspapers fueled the panic, publishing sketches of the crime scenes and theories about the killer's identity. The pressure on Scotland Yard became a national crisis, eventually leading Queen Victoria to demand the police find the killer immediately. Despite putting thousands of officers on the streets, the police were unable to catch the killer in the act. He seemed to know the layout of the slums better than the men hunting him. For the first time, the citizens of the world's most powerful empire realized that their authorities were unable to protect them from a single shadow in the night. Scotland Yard began receiving hundreds of letters from individuals claiming to be the killer, most of which were dismissed as hoaxes. One specific letter, known as the Dear Boss letter, was the first to use the name that would stick: Jack the Ripper. In October, a horrifying package was delivered to the head of a local vigilance committee. Inside was a piece of a human kidney, accompanied by a letter. The document was unsigned, featuring only a return address that indicated the sender was writing "From Hell." These letters turned the killer into a national obsession. He was no longer just a local criminal. He was an entity who seemed to be mocking the entire police force from the shadows. At the peak of the investigation, the police interviewed over 2,000 people and used every resource available, from bloodhounds to thousands of volunteer vigilantes. The list of suspects was vast, including local butchers, medical students, and even wealthy aristocrats rumored to be hiding in the city. One theory even suggested a royal cover-up to protect Prince Albert Victor, the grandson of Queen Victoria, though no physical evidence ever linked him to the crimes. Every lead eventually reached a dead end. Despite the massive scale of the investigation, the police were never able to bring a single person to trial. Then, in November, the murders simply stopped. There was no final confrontation and no arrest. The killer retreated into the London fog and was never seen or heard from again. For over 130 years, investigators and historians have used modern forensics to try and solve the case, yet the killer remains unidentified. Who do you think he really was? A doctor with a dark secret, or a member of the royal family? Let me know your theory in the comments and subscribe for more historical mysteries. Jack the Ripper's escape changed the Victorian era forever. He became the shadow that the empire could never catch, leaving behind a name that remains synonymous with the unsolved.